the dollars that raise the church up. So we seek those that will provide us the means, which is up for us, the means by which we can have this great facility, which means I live longer than I have my big Mercedes that I can sleep in. It'll be big enough. I can sleep in.
Well, I think you got it. And a part of it is when you look at Isaiah, Isaiah is really going to talk about this corruption that's going on. And it's the same way in the temple as well as in these other places, because it is not, again, enhancing the quality of life or bringing covenant. It's not. Because I can't serve this God if I'm starving.
Yeah.
I got to see this God do something. God moves through the temple, through these priests, through the activity. That's why they will bring us the grain, bring us the grapes, bring us your tithes, bring us this, so that there might be meat in my storehouse for the widows and the orphans, so that we can begin to manage a community. It becomes a distribution center.
Right. There you go.
But man, why he just done shut down? He just what's wrong? But I'm gonna get you with it. What's wrong, son? What's wrong?
Tell it.
No, I'm trying to help us understand that we are part of this whole system.
Yes.
Of course we are.
Yes.
Even the people who are wanting to destroy the system are fighting to be in charge of the system.
That's it.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
And I'm watching this, and take for instance, we're looking at Mr. Romney. A little glimpse. Nobody's about to say, well, you can't be rich.
No.
But we get a chance to take a look at, he's making every attempt where he can work the system for his own benefit.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's the whole premises.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that, and then some of us, when we get the opportunity, we do the same thing.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what the problem is.
Absolutely.
And I think the church, and you're right, that's a generic term, but I think a lot of our churches, I think we've gone to the same mindset. I don't think it's about enhancing people. I don't think it's about
enhancing yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's where the challenge is coming in, which is why a new generation, and a new generation is starting to say, this is garbage.
Yeah.
But if you ever notice that Isaiah and Jeremiah and the rest of these folk got to be called out of the palace. They cannot stay.
Right.
Prophets are outside.
Outside. Yes, sir.
And they got to be, because this kind of stuff will contaminate them to the point that their message gets so polluted.
Nobody
has no power.
Nobody is.
And I think that's what happens.
And once again, like you said, Dr. Johnson, it's about communal living at the baseline.
Right.
Because we don't live communally, we live individually. We cannot share, we cannot build relationship. And our church is not in relationship with its people, and if there's no relationship with its people, everything is disjointed. And that's where we are, in my opinion.
No, I would agree with you 100. I would tenfold. I think we are disjointed. I think we not only don't live communal, but I don't think we hold people to accountability who's inside of that communal system.
That's right.
You know, part of this is, and a lot of folks will say, well, he's just about welfare. Hebrew people were never about welfare. They were never about welfare. The whole essence of it is if you look at their understanding, they had people to harvest all the way up to the edges of their land.
Yes.
They left that unharvested so that the people would have to walk out to glean and to get it. They're going to make them earn it.
Go out and get it.
And I think we have on both sides, again, it's a part that one system is saying, wait a minute, we're going to make sure that you never have enough in order that you can come out the condition.
Right.
Another system is saying, we're going to keep you so connected to us that you become enabled to be crippled.
Right.
And so we never sit back and say, wait a minute, what system works which empowers and hold people accountable so that they can come out of the system? Because I think a lot of our folks, they'll sit there with their hands out all day long. That's just,
That's right.
I don't know. Well, you're going to be a slave.
But that's the skill set. The skill set that folks have developed over time is to hold their hand out. Because if your story is hurt enough, you bring your little children, oh, I'm not going to let those children be hungry. Why not?
Right.
That's right.
And that's one of the questions we choose not to ask. Why can't those children go hungry?
And a part of it is what is making them go hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Why you gotta ask some serious questions
to the
about
core.
what's transpiring. Okay?
Right.
Well, I think we got a lot of charity and enabling ministries. And I really do.
Yes.
Because all I gotta do is just
Yes.
come and beg and
That's
you'll
right.
no.
That's right.
What happens that would get me to take responsibility
For my
come out of
house.
this?
Yes.
For my house.
Okay.
That's right.
You
Anyway,
think if a man gets hungry enough, he'll work?
Nope.
some of them won't.
Some of them won't. Some of them no.
Some of them won't.
No, they'll steal.
Go to food
Steal and kill and rob and do all those kind of things. They're not gonna work.
So you don't think if they got hungry enough,
No.
they'll work? A fish?
No.
Miss
No.
Clara, please.
No.
No.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey,
Mr. King,
don't make me laugh back here.
Yeah. Well, Cyrus will first.
Okay.
I want to get y'all back. Let's take a look at something. I want y'all to put this in. This is political and spiritual.
Right.
All right? And this is international. As we look at it, what is happening on the global world stage becomes significant and important as God's hand is maneuvering. Because God is active. You might not like it, and I'm constantly tell folks that. All right? And then this Isaiah, if we look at the writing styles, we're going to see witty sayings. All right? You're going to see it as he begins to use what we call paradoxical remarks. You're going to hear him challenge. You're going to hear his antithesis. You're going to hear the propositions. You're going to hear it as he begins to talk about judgment and try to give consolation, as he tries to give hope. At different times in this biblical writ between Isaiah of Jerusalem, Deutero-Isaiah, Trito-Isaiah, we are looking at these different writing styles. That's why your book says, look at what's happening. Because at times it sounds like he's interrogating. That's one style.
Yeah.
He's interrogating. As he begins to challenge these folks, what are y'all doing? Interrogating the temple, interrogating the king, he is utilizing this language to talk about, do you really understand your role? Do you really understand what you're doing? Tell me it's making sense. So we get this antithesis, we get this interrogation, and then we get contrasting positions. Where he'll take a position, other folks will take a position, and they will begin, you'll hear it in the dialogue and in the writing, they're wrestling. So in this literature, that's what we see. What do y'all think? Come on. No, yes. I know y'all was reading your book, so.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the whole idea of the interrogation is the fact that they had committed a crime against the God of the covenant.
That's it.
And he was trying to bring conviction, just like even today, there's a lot of conviction coming on a lot of leaders. The thing is what they're going to do with that conviction. And what I see is what's going on. They're so used to the system. Is what they're doing is they're trying to get this United States back to where it was. And I think that's the biggest mistake, because what I think is happening is God is talking to us. He's talking to every last one of us about this system. He's trying to make us understand it. And like years ago, I noticed when we were in recession, we wouldn't be in a recession in so long. This time it's like it's not letting up. And I think that's the Lord's way of telling us, getting our attention, like interrogating us, so to speak, to make us realize where we're at, what we have done, things that he has done to get us in this predicament, so that we might turn around and do those things, do the first works, go back to being, the community that we used to be, as far as sharing for one another.
I think a part of it as well is for you to look at the political systems that have been put in place, because there is a segment that's not experiencing this. They're not experiencing it.
Nope.
And the question is, why aren't they experiencing it? And don't care. I mean, you got some. As you look at it, you got some folks that are real apathetic and indifferent. to human suffering.
That's true.
As long as it's not them.
And that's the whole deal. So now comes this issue of what has brought us to this place. And then most of these folks are standing in these quote-unquote Christian churches,
Yeah.
but they have no compassion for suffering human beings. They don't even see them as human. They don't even see them as human. So now where in the prophetic realm are we speaking, interrogating them as to what is the covenant and bringing them back to that awareness? Where are we challenging them?
We continuously react to what it is that they put forward. So we are engaged in conversations that have nothing to do with that prophetic sense.
Right.
Our conversation, if we look at the church's biggest issue is abortion. So we stay there, we don't think about anything else.
We stay there, we stay with homosexuality, we stay,
That's it.
and we never look at the oppression, the disenfranchisement. We never look at anything except these little things. And I told you these preachers wasn't, and they fall in this, that. Now, wait a minute, hold on. When do we interrogate the community for its own failure?
That's right.
Come on.
When do we do that? All right, so I want y'all to come back with me to Isaiah 1. Let's take a look at something.
That's where we're.
Isaiah 1. I know. Isaiah 1.
Hey.
Yeah.
They were 37 years on the hot.
Right.
That's when he took office.
Right.
Kind of hot in here. Okay, so, you know, politically, this was already concerned.
That's it.
Wait,
Right.
not the cause of the problem.
Right.
He was given the torch.
Right.
When the problem was coming to surface.
Correct.
And so,
Correct.
when we deal with that, and we're talking about, we're still talking about going back to the essence of the Bible and what it is that God has called His people to do,
Right.
to take care of, you know, the needs of the people. So my question to you would be this: okay, if the state of the country is in such, okay, as far as the church,
Right.
where do they fall in place? When you deal with homeless people sitting right in your church,
Right.
people living in their cars,
Right.
or sitting
Right.
in your congregation. So, what is the responsibility of the church when you're dealing with those type of issues?
I think one of the things that you're going to hear the prophets come together and start talking about is that the prophets are going to begin to not only interpret what the government has done or interpret what Barack has done or is not doing, but it will interpret what the community is doing or not doing in order to alleviate this kind of suffrage with our community, with our nation, with just other human beings.
That's right.
Now, part of it is to shift our nation to start showing, our message, so that we can start talking about interconnectedness.
Okay.
Yep.
One of the second things is this, is that how we begin to start talking about utilizing our economic resources. There's a multiplicity of abandoned buildings right here in Atlanta.
All over the place.
All over the place.
There are empty houses. So how do we rally our resources together
That's right.
so that we can begin to mobilize
That's
for
right.
spaces and places where our folks can live?
That's right. So that's the program.
How do we generate? That's two. Here's the third one. How do we become an institution that generates a global economic market? What do we do? Because if we got these buildings, we don't just have to turn them into lofts. We can turn them into factories and begin to find out what folks need around the world. And we begin to start mobilizing our folks so that they can become employable, trainable. We have to begin to move out of the box to help people think about how then do they survive in this environment. Remember what God told Jeremiah in 29. Everybody go to Jeremiah 29. I'm not going to get the one.